All right, that takes the pressure off. Recordings.
You knew there were some advantages to Zoom, right?
Yeah.
It's coming up to go back to the whole thing again. I'm like, oh, I forgot that.
That's what I sound like. Oh, man. All right. Well, I think just to check, we have a quorum,
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
I believe so. I think I saw Shane. I'm kind of looking to see who's in the room. We got Glenn, Shane, Doug.
Jason Beasley's here from Modern.
Okay, Jason.
Oh, and
And-
Holt.
Yeah, and I'm
I don't need, I'm sorry.
subbing in for Kelly. He called me a little bit to sit in for him. So.
Thanks for coming.
And Holt. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got our quorum now.
Okay.
Welcome, Guy. Welcome, Rob. Tim's here too. Welcome.
All right. Well, I think that we got a full house here and a full agenda. So I'd like to call this meeting to order for the November edition of Spokane Aquifer Joint Board. My name is Jeremy Jenkins. I'm the president of the Joint Board, and I think just for everyone's knowledge, we'll go around. Maybe we'll start in the room here and just kind of give a brief introduction because we have a lot of guests on the phone here. We're gonna call. So to my right, you don't see him. There he is.
Consolidated Irrigation District, Shane Shepherd, and Vice President at SAJB.
Austin Morrell, Spokane Valley Fire Department. I'm sitting next to Shane. I might be outside the frame.
Tony Lee Hansen, Spokane Aquifer Joint Board Program Manager.
Jason Beasley, Modern Electric Water Company. Sitting next to Tony.
Glenn Townley, Sherman Water. Doug Greenland with the City of Spokane and your treasurer.
Dan Cagley, retired, but part-time GSI Water Resource Consultant. And Holt Dales with Spokane County Water District number 3. I think I'm out of the frame also.
I moved you in.
Okay.
All right, Rick.
Rick Neal, Model Irrigation Water District 18.
And to be noted that Lee has the proxy for Carnhope and Hutchinson.
Thank you.
So we get that in record.
Caleb.
Dale Hawkinson, Spokane Business and Industrial Park.
You, Todd.
Todd Henry, Bureau of Water and Power, Secretary SAJB.
Matt Wright, Superintendent, Whitworth Water District number 2.
Matt.
Tim Merle, Whitworth Water District.
Matt. Mike.
Mike Hermanson, Spokane County.
Henry
Rob
Allen,
Lindsay?
go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I'm sorry, Henry. Rob Lindsay, Spokane County.
Henry Allen, City of Spokane Valley.
Terry Pickle, City of Coeur d'Alene.
Annette Bay's consultant.
You want Department of Health people? I'm Sherry Miller, Washington Department of Health, drinking water. I can go to Brenda, Deborah.
Brenda Smith, Regional Planner, Department of Health, Spokane office.
Deborah Johnson, Office of Drinking Water, Wellhead Protection.
Tracy Band, Department of Ecology, Water Resources Program.
Tracy.
Guy Gregory, consultant.
Okay. Sure, let's get moving here.
Okay,
welcome.
sorry, I couldn't hear and my internet's a little bit wonky with the weather going on right now, but I'm Beryl Frederickson, City of Spokane. I work in the Integrated Capital Management. So sorry to hold the meeting, but thank you.
No problem, thanks.
And hi, this is Norm Semenko, Lakeland High School, class of '84. Attorney, Parsons, Bailey, and Latimer.
This is Dennis Fuller with Century West Engineering, the engineering consultant for City of Airway Heights.
And hi, this is Kevin Anderson. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Airway Heights.
All right. So thank you everyone for attending here. First order of business is consideration of the October 28th, 2021 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any changes or edits, additions that need to be included in these?
A motion to approve as is.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Shepherd to accept the meeting minutes as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Doug seconds. Is there any further discussion on the meeting minutes as presented? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the October 28th meeting minutes as presented, please say aye or raise your hand if you're on Zoom.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Minutes have been accepted. Next order of business is our financial report, and I will pass this to our treasurer, Mr. Greenland.
Thank you. Hopefully you have the summary there. I'll start off with, we have $3,593.09 in our Aquifer Joint Board account, $66,975.10 in our wellhead implementation account, and $47,479.72 in our county pool. For November's bills, we have two from Ann Francis, and I split them out because I have two invoices, so I'm paying each invoice separately. $38.25 for web maintenance and $460.50 for information about the highway award, updates on the webpage there, and then $5,307.86 for our program manager, Tony Lee. That's November's bills.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Greenland. Any questions, discussion about our bill payment summary here? Can we get a motion to accept and pay our bills?
I make a motion to pay Ann Francis and Tony Lee. She does a great job, both of them.
All right, so we have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Todd seconds. Further discussion? Do you pay our bills for November 2021? Hearing none. All those in favor of paying our bills, $498.75 to Ann Francis web design and $5307.86 to Tony. Please say aye or raise your hand on Zoom. Opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. We will pay the bills. So moving on to old business. First item has to do with the Tywick Award Committee. We met. I don't even remember when we met. We met after the last
Doing
meeting.
okay? It's snowing.
Rick, you're live, Rick.
Oh, whoops.
You're okay. We'll include that in the minutes. Yeah, so we met, we discussed a little bit more about the nomination form. We met with Don Bayman of KSPS was there to get a kind of a feel of how we wanted to kind of message this award, because they have developed a little 30-second spot for us to run on their channels, and as well as allow us to utilize that video spot as we see fit. Oh, sorry about that. So we are getting closer to having a cost and a design proposal for the actual award plaque. So we have the video this is draft video that KSPS developed for us. And I would like to share that with everyone now, if that's okay. Host. You need to make me a host, don't you?
I'll just make sure you can share your screen.
Okay. Okay, here we go. I need to share sound.
And this is a draft, so we're looking for comments. We've received about 5 comments so far about a few edits that we'd like to make to this video that you're going to see in a second. One, to make it only 1 award, not 2 awards. At the end, you're going to see that it says awards. I'll go ahead and play it, and then we can talk about any.
Spent his life protecting our drinking water. Tywick spent his life protecting our drinking water. The original defender of the Spokane Valley Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer, he brought people together to work toward his vision, clean and plentiful water for generations to come. The inspiration of Tywick lives on in the people who continue his vital work. And it's why the organization he founded, the Spokane Aquifer Joint Board, has created the Tywick Awards. Learn more and nominate a deserving defender of our aquifer at SpokaneAquifer.org.
Yep, perfect. It's good.
So just so you know, a couple of the other edits. One, we want to add a little footer that shows that the awardee could come from either Idaho or Washington. Both are eligible. Also, we had an edit to, Doug, do you want to see what your edit was?
It calls in the original defender of the aquifer, and I don't know if you can fairly say that he's the original defender of the aquifer, because there's been plenty of people over the years. So, but like an ardent defender of the aquifer.
Yeah, he probably would take offense to being called the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the only other one I had was, and it's not just his vision, it's our vision of protecting the aquifer. So just some minor little things, but I think we'll be more inclusive and not, but other than that, any other comments about what you saw in the video? Because we're going to start running that December 1st. So we want to get those edits done as quickly as possible.
Now we're going to change that last graphic. It said Tywick Awards
Right.
to
And
award.
just award.
Yeah.
Any other things that you thought of?
Good. Moving on to the next item of business, we've been working on a proposal to do some work on aggregate quarries, and we had a subcommittee meeting on the 3rd of November to kind of dial in the initial proposal from GSI Water Solutions to kind of address some questions, concerns that some members had pertaining to that. So what do you, Matt, Tim, what do you think about the update to that? Whitworth.
Yeah, could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I was on the phone.
No problem. I just wondering how you think the adjusted scope of work fits in what we were kind of trying to get at our meeting at the beginning of the month.
Yeah, I think it's certainly better. I have no concerns. Matt, are you here? You have anything to add? I think he's on the same call, so yeah, no concern.
Give Dan a chance to just talk about.
Yeah. And Dan, you have anything to say about the adjustment that we had you make?
Well, primarily, from the subcommittee, I know that a lot of folks on the call weren't available to be there. So really there was I felt some overlap in the tasks 1 and 2. And there were some immediate items that we felt that, could be pulled from that first task into the second task, because that's really where a lot of the substantive outcomes for SAJB laid was in that second task. And then also an outcome from that meeting was, putting that into a presentation for SAJB to deliver. That could be done at a much later date once we see what we have coming back, right? How we best want to communicate that to other individuals. So really there was 3 items that were pulled from that initial task 1, actually 4, and then brought into task 2. And task 2 was just cleaned up, so there wasn't any type of or any repetitive items that may exist within the 2. So I think what you have here is a much tighter scope of work than what was originally put forward. Giving that guidance from the subcommittee was very valuable for myself and the rest of the staff at GSI to have that feedback and then provide a better scope of work that I think really speaks to what you were looking for initially, from this type of investigation. So there were 2 comments that I think that were made that I feel I should address. One was that we do have, SAJB does have, map capture zones from all the purveyors, but that's such a small incremental amount of work. I mean, all those GSI also has. So just to include that in the report would be a much cleaner document and give a better overall presentation at the end of the day. So that was brought forward into this. So I thought that was something that should address.
Yeah, certainly. And so
the other piece that I guess is when I look at the tasks is, the labor itself is involved. The items that you chose to bring forward were probably some of the more labor intensive items as well. So I think that is probably what's reflected in that cost.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's certainly what we're have a lack of is time.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why we reached out to you all. So
Jeremy, hey, this is Tim again. I did want to say that I appreciate what GSI did. That's a pretty difficult task to pull together a scope like that with really not much blinders provided to them. So I hope they don't take GSI doesn't take any hard feelings by this conversation, but that's always a tough thing to do. So I thought they did a good initial job. We honed it, and it looks good to go.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And no, there's no hard feelings. This is a process.
Yeah, so we have kind of penciled this in to the budget, but during our subcommittee meeting, we did have, I can't remember who brought up.
Matt did.
Oh, Matt brought up the potential to maybe we could seek grant funding from Department of Health's source water protection grant program, which is kind of a rolling program. And in looking at the grant application guidelines, it appears that this type of work would fit into that.
Hi, this is Deborah. I think I'm actually later on the agenda, but would it be helpful to have more of a back and forth at this point?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So I'm kind of late to the game here. I'm aware of this issue because of a complaint that I kind of fielded back in the spring, having to do with a particular project. And I had sent Tony Lee a bunch of information about that particular complaint process. Did that get forwarded on to the entire group?
Same information that Doug had received earlier, and so they have all received that, yes.
Okay, so you've seen all of that. So my takeaways from that were that, this sort of ends up being an unregulated animal as far as ecology is concerned. We do not have the same level of, I'll call it police authority, although it's not police, but the same type of any kind of regulatory authority or direct follow-up on complaints like ecology does. So in this case, that's why it ended up referred to them. And when they came back, they basically said, there's not really a problem there because this isn't regulated. And it is a very unusual situation. I wasn't able to find good examples, even elsewhere of this being regulated as a threat to source water. So I'm going to need to dig around with that a little more, at the national level and see if there are any good examples. But for now, that little Stone Lake project seems to be the best local example of, sort of what the problem was or the potential threat was. And, my personal background's in local planning. And so let me put on my city planner hat for a moment, even though I'm not working in that arena right now, that it becomes an awkward situation for the local jurisdiction because they can't just wave their magic wand and say, you can't use that. If somebody owns that bit of water that forms a lake, if somebody owns that property, because they get into the realm of possibly being a regulatory taking. And so it creates an awkward situation for the local jurisdiction as well. So I guess those are kind of my main takeaways from, that whole process that happened earlier on this year. And I didn't know you were having these discussions in the meantime. So that's great that they've taken this more back to talking about it sort of at a region level. Now, do you have a notion how many of these there are? I mean, there are 3 right there around that little Stone Lake, counting that itself. In the picture that I have, Ecology told me the 2 that were just to the northwest of that are also breaches.
Currently, there's 3 active, 2 inactive aggregate mines with exposed aquifer, but there are plenty of holdings county-wide over the aquifer that I'm sure are just waiting in the wings, given the growth and development that we're seeing in the area that we all kind of feel like there needs to be some cohesive policy application or protective measure to keep our sole source of drinking water in the state that it's currently in.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe your response ends up being couple different facets. One would be, what do you do with the active little lakes that exist? And then what do you do to preclude the others from becoming problems? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So,
there are existing rules in place, but it is not the same over the entire Spokane side of this, or Spokane County side of this aquifer.
So what the source water protection money could potentially pay for is studies that would back that, some sort of planning process to try to figure out, a program that everybody's going to buy into. Maybe your program could include something like, buying conservation easements or something of that nature, where that sort of starts to chip away at the whole regulatory takings aspect, because then somebody has, acquired the right away from that property and somebody's been compensated for it. That's not, we cannot pay for the real property, but we could certainly look at, the program to get you there. Basically anything that's a build process outside of, like, fencing a wellhead protection area or something like that. As Karina, my colleague, said, no groundbreaking. So anything that is construction oriented cannot be covered by this money. That link that I had sent earlier that has the guidelines in it is a pretty good list, trying to anticipate, what types of projects folks might be doing. But it's also not all inclusive, because, just recognizing every area is different. People have different challenges in different spots around the US. And so it is relatively flexible. There are some specific, we cannot fund these types of projects in there, but I didn't see any of those ineligible projects that really screamed, this would apply here and you can't use it for that. So I guess with that in mind, I'd be happy to work with you, the subcommittee, more closely on kind of crafting an application that would be coloring inside the lines. But in the long run, you could devise a program that exceeds that. It would just be a matter of how to pay for that.
Yeah, and that's one thought that I had was, do we want to just fund this first part ourselves, and then subsequent actions we leverage or attempt to leverage source water protection grant dollars, or do we go for the grant with a contingency in the budget for next year in case that we're not awarded that, or maybe we're partial type of award? What does anyone have any thoughts about that? I think that, yeah, we do fit, this could fit into multiple categories that DOH has laid out. And I'm assuming that these categories that have been laid out are things that have been funded in the past.
I have a question for Deborah. Is there a requirement for matching funds with those grants? I don't remember off the top of my head. Deborah, you're still muted.
Deborah, you just muted yourself.
She may be talking to somebody else.
I'm sorry, I shut it off when I thought I was turning it on. A match isn't required, but it's encouraged. It says, the way the guidelines are written, it's, that can be preferential. Right now, we don't have, a heck of a lot of people in line for this money. So, it's a little bit malleable. But the match doesn't have to be cash either. The match can be in kind, the match can be staffing, whatever. So, and then there's also the ability to pair other grant money with it, except you can't put it with drinking water state revolving fund money.
Could go ahead and, put the GSI proposal in our budget as some of the matching funds, and then, that presentation that we may want to develop, or would the grant reimburse funds if we pay for everything out front? Could we get reimbursed for any of the work we do, Deborah?
Well, that's basically the way it works. It is a quarterly reporting basis, and you have to report back on what you've done during that quarter, and then cost out the activities during that quarter and any match or in kind during that time.
Just a year. Spend the year.
What is the time frame on spending the funds?
Oh, you have to start it within 60 days. If you can't start with it, kick it off within 60 days of when you get the funding, then it's going to evaporate on you. It has to be just completed within whatever time frame that you've identified, in the proposal. So do think about that as you're thinking about how you want to carry, first of all, the scoping for your project, and then how you want to go about carrying it out.
Thank you for that, Deborah. Oh, Sherry.
Just want to add, Deborah, how long, like if they got an application in, how long are we turning that back around? Like how long does it? It's
fairly quick. Right now, Sherry knows this, but others might not, that my program manager just took a different job within the organization. And so I'm kind of flying solo at the moment with a learn as we go here.
And we kind of lost you on that last part, but I just want to make sure that
I just said I'm learning the ropes as we go here.
Thank you both for helping us understand a little bit more of that. Are there specific feelings either way? I mean, I think that it wouldn't be too huge of a lift to make a pass at it. And worst case scenario, we fund it ourselves.
I definitely think it's worth pursuing the grant.
Yeah.
Because volunteering Tony needed to do a bunch of work.
Yeah. No, I mean, we'll share in the burden of putting this application together for sure. But I think that feeling here in the room is that it would be a worthy effort to make a play for it. What about members on Zoom? Any thoughts, yay or nay? Indifferent?
Except for Todd.
Todd's giving a thumbs up. Yeah, I think that we
budget for what that is, 24,300 for 25, and then if we get some grant money, that's great. For like it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that we'll do that then. Okay. Well, again, thank you, Deborah and Sherry. That was helpful.
Thank you. So just let me know if you need me to, sit on subsequent meetings or anything to contribute to this and, kind of help it along.
Okay.
You've got my number. Other than that, give me a shout.
Okay. Thank you. We will. Thank you. Okay. I guess next item then, moving on in our agenda to new business. And the first item in new business is pertaining to City of Airway Heights. We were provided with a SEPA application and a proposal that is kind of tied to a water rights transfer from an adjacent aquifer to the Spokane Valley Raft Prairie Aquifer. Yeah, we'd just like to learn a little bit more about that project.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. This is Kevin Anderson again. I'm from the City of Airway Heights. I'm the Public Works Director. I thought I'd kick us off here real quick. First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board. And our intent here is to be able to let you know what we're intending to do. And when we're all done, hopefully that it's entirely clear to you what we're doing and why we're doing it, and answer any questions that you have. This process began, as those of you who've been following our saga up here on the West Plains. Back in 2017, we first discovered that we had contaminated water from PFAS contamination. And since then, we've been working with many partners to get to the point where we are. And a number of our partners are on the call today, including Department of Health. Dan Kegley, it's good to see you. Dan was instrumental in helping us out in the early days and onward when he was working at the City of Spokane. So we're at this point where we have an intention of drilling a new well, and that's what the SEPA is all about. And at this point, I think I'll hand it off to Dennis. We'll go through some of the technical aspects of how we got to this point, what we're doing, and open it up to questions.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Make sure I'm unmuted. And sorry, I don't have a formal presentation for you. It was kind of a rush thing to put this all together, but I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of the history of why we're where we're at and what we hope to accomplish. So historically, the city's primary drinking water source was from a paleo channel that runs through the southwest corner of the city, and it was supplemented by City of Spokane intertie. And as Kevin mentioned, back in 2017, the Air Force discovered PFAS levels that were above the human health criteria for EPA. And so we were forced to shut our wells down pretty much immediately. And I'm sure you can all appreciate what a mad scramble that ended up being. But and so to help us through the period where we really just didn't have our own drinking water source, we entered into a fixed term agreement with the City of Spokane to provide an additional intertie and an additional water source until we found a solution to the problems with the contamination. So we are still currently under that agreement, and we're working closely with the City of Spokane to make sure that we continue receiving water from them until we can get some permanent fix in place. So we completed an HG study through geoengineers to determine what the feasibility would be of moving our water resources to the Spokane aquifer. Currently, the paleo channel that we historically was drawing water from actually flows down into the Spokane aquifer river system somewhere in the neighborhood of Deep Creek. So what they were able to determine is because we discontinued pumping from the paleo channel, that provided water availability in the Spokane system to withdraw water in the neighborhood of Deep Creek. So to do that, we need to use the city's water rights for mitigation of new rights on the Spokane, in the Spokane aquifer, and we applied for new water rights through DOE with a mitigation plan. And basically that mitigation plan involves the city relinquishing water rights in the West Plains and getting new water rights over time. And these are new water rights. They're not transferred water rights. So and actually the city's water reclamation plant currently recharges the Paleo Channel. So the water that we're withdrawing, or a lot of the water that we would be withdrawn from the Spokane system will be ultimately returned through the recharge from their water reclamation plant. So initially we're looking at new water rights. We have an application in for 1,205.4 acre feet. We have to apply for new rights over a period of time based on the time that the water that we discontinue pumping is available in that location. So in 2029, that's the last year that we would be applying for new water rights for a total of 2,328 acre feet. So, and again, these are new water rights with new priority dates. So the proposed withdrawal location, we haven't got it refined down to an actual pinpoint, but we're looking at approximately 1,500 feet southwest of the 7 Mile bridge on the west side of the river. If we get the water rights, we have plans for a project that will involve the well, 6.5 miles of transmission main, and a booster station for a total estimated cost of about $25 million. We're currently, we have about $14.5 million in state obligated funds, and we're working on filling the funding gap through a variety of other funding sources. So that's sort of where we're at in a nutshell, and I guess we'll just open it up to questions from there.
Would those relinquished water rights be relinquished just, would they be relinquished to trust, or would they be kind of put back in an available scenario for future folks to go and potentially get water rights?
No, they're going to be fully relinquished.
Okay.
That it's a non-project SEPA. It should have a Part D included with the checklist. Doesn't seem to be there. That's something that, first of all, we appreciate that comment. We'll take that back and make sure that we aren't missing some parts in the form.
I might add to that, Heather, the planner through DOE had determined that for water rights, that is considered a project action.
Okay.
Is your intent to kind of track what is kind of being returned through these relinquished rights? I mean, how are you going to be certain that indeed what is being relinquished actually does mitigate the withdrawals from this adjacent aquifer.
Yeah, that is included in the mitigation plan, which is backed up by the HG study or HG report that was that geoengineers did, and that's actually those documents are included in the SEPA documents, so they can be reviewed through the SEPA process.
We all have been have experience in the development of the in-stream flow rule over the past, I feel like, decade plus. A lot of I don't want to call it threats, but inquiries from the state, and we've done some studies looking at adjacency to losing reaches, gaining reaches of the Spokane River and the effects that they have on the flow. I did see one chart in geoengineers report looking at the pumping impacts to the stream. Are there going to be further analysis of potential impairments to flows?
No, not that I'm aware of. I believe that the Department of Ecology was satisfied with the HG report that was submitted to allow us the mitigation strategy that we've outlined.
And that's a good point to bring up too, Dennis. All along the way, as we have examined our alternatives for dealing with this issue, we've been working very closely with the State Department of Ecology, and in fact scoped out this HG study to address each one of their concerns. And they have reviewed it and have essentially said that this addresses all of their concerns.
Kevin, this is B from the city of Spokane. So you have a document that says, or what are you just referring to the March 20 meeting that was commented that this is a possible solution to move forward with? So do you have something official that ecology is on board?
We have, no, it's been on a staff level that we have worked with them on making sure that the scope of our study addresses their comments. As to their decision, of course, that's forthcoming. That is something they're working on. And there's a public process, as you know, that has to go before their official decision is made. But we at least know that the scope has addressed all of their concerns in terms of what needed to be analyzed and over what time frame.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Many folks over the past couple decades, many entities have attempted to gain additional water rights from the aquifer and have had great difficulty with that. My agency, Lurie Lake Sewer and Water District, got notice 20 years after application for a water right that we were denied. Have they indicated a time frame of possibly issuing this? I know that there's others that have ran into walls in getting additional water rights.
my understanding of the status is that they've completed their review of the application, and have completed a report of examination, and that report is at Department of Fish and Wildlife for review. And then after their review, it'll go out for public comment.
Have we answered all of the questions that you have?
It looks like Guy Gregory had a question about how Airway Heights how will we supply water during times of curtailment? And I'm not sure exactly what that.
I think you might be referring to in terms of in-stream flow not being, minimum in-stream flows not being met. If you were junior to the in-stream flow, that well would be called, or that right would be called upon.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't know the answer to that. I think we'd have to get some input from our HG to address that, but presumably, and I'm not a hydrogeologist, the water right that we're requesting is fully mitigated by the elimination of the discharge in the paleo channel.
Kevin, is the Air Force helping out financially through any of this?
They have not committed any funds to this project as of yet.
Yeah, there are a number of sources that we are seeking funds through. They would be one. As Dennis said, they haven't committed to doing anything yet. But we have been working with them and a number of agencies under the umbrella of the Department of Defense to solve the problem. But we're still working that.
Tony Lee, I admit I don't understand much of any of this, but could you explain what you just said about your water right would be fully mitigated? I didn't understand that.
Because we ceased withdrawing water from the paleo channel, that water is available to us in the area that the paleo channel drains into the Spokane system. And so, and again, I'm not an HG, but my understanding is that that water that we are not withdrawing is contributing to the Spokane system, and that's how we're mitigating the withdrawal.
Does that make sense, Tony?
Well, I don't know much about water rights, honestly, so it's confusing. If you're giving up and relinquishing those water rights, then how can they help you? And here's maybe where I'm just, completely out of my territory, but if this came up around the question of what would you do if the in-stream flow rule kicks into place, then you are due to that in-stream flow rule. I don't understand how that using the water, the paleo channel, then somehow helps mitigate. I may be just all jumbled up, but it's very confusing to me, honestly. So,
well,
take notes.
One way to think about this is, the paleo channel is hydraulically continuous with the Spokane Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer. It takes years for the water that we don't withdraw up in our paleo channel to reach the Spokane River, the Spokane aquifer. But because they are continuous, the water that we're not using is contributing to the Spokane aquifer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I did read the geoengineer's report, and so I understood that part of it. I just don't understand how being fully mitigated helps with you obtaining a water right.
Well,
I don't want to belabor this, so, if I'm the only one confused here, I can have a private conversation at some other point, but that's where I get confused about how you're thinking this through and what the plan is for being able to move forward with this. And somebody else who understands this better help me out here.
so I guess the water that we would, since we've stopped withdrawing water from the Paleo Channel, that water now is available in the Spokane system. So, so we've actually contributed water to the Spokane Aquifer River system by stopping our pumping in the Paleo Channel. And because of that, we can use that water as mitigation for withdrawing in the same location that that water is contributing to.
It would be provided we did not attempt to locate a well upstream of the confluence of that Paleo Channel with the Spokane system.
And that is about a 29-year process, right? For that water that is not being withdrawn to then fully get to the Spokane Raft and Prairie Aquifer.
Yeah, it's staged over 3 stages. So the last stage where the water actually, the last of the water reaches the Spokane system from the Paleo Channel from the time that we quit pumping happens in 2029.
Is this, I'm reading between the lines here, is driven by a couple factors, yield concerns and contamination concerns.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of facets to this, including that any new withdrawals from the Paleo Channel would have to be treated. And in the current funding source with the Air Force, they would not contribute to funding the treatment nor the operation and maintenance of any of those new sources that we developed under our current water rights.
They're not interested in providing treatment for that source.
For any new sources, that's correct.
Is there one location now with a city well that provides all the water to the Airway Heights?
So the city pumps out of the aquifer. We have 7 well sites with 27 different individual wells. And so seasonally it's very, which, I mean, obviously in the summertime, everybody is pumping everything they can, but during the bulk of the year, the actual water for our entire system and what we're providing is coming just a mile or so to the north of here from Park Water and Well Electric. And if anybody's interested, actually, we like to give a tour. So if you want to come out to Well Electric and have a tour of a small group of people, we're offering those. But yeah, that's where it comes from.
And the consumption since 2017 or 18 from the city to Airway Heights, what's that? What's that been? What is that?
I don't have that off the top of my head. And
They're 100%.
they've been tracking it, but I haven't. So
prior to the PFAS, there was an 8-inch connection at Highway 2 and Hayward Road that was limited by airway heights, infrastructure downstream of that to about 1,500 gallons per minute. And jump in, Kevin, and correct me if I get this wrong. We did another connection at Craig Road, and that one supplies about 1,400 gallons per minute. So combined, about 2,900 gallons per minute they receive from the city.
You got it, Dan. You haven't lost it yet.
Not for much longer, Kevin. I'm getting all the memories faded.
No, you got it, Dan. I was just gonna double confirm and confirm the intertie needs from Airway Heights in the future. But yeah, and one other thing to note too is that there is the opportunity for Airway Heights to pull more if the metering systems that we have in place aren't in place. We experienced that once where some of our valving and our meter systems busted open, and there was quite a bit of flow that came through. We caught it quickly, but yeah, there's definitely, the city is definitely working hard to support Airway Heights right now.
Totally agree.
And B, wouldn't you say it's fair to say too that capacity in that system is to a point where 2,900 gallons a minute is about it?
So in
Yes.
I noticed that it mentioned eventually 2,500 gallons per minute would be the max for out of those rights if ecology eventually agreed on. So there will always be use being from the city, I'm assuming then, even with this being approved?
Yes, there would still be there. Well, maybe I should let Kevin answer that. The request has been made, right?
Well, could you restate the question? I'm not sure I heard you properly.
If these rights were eventually approved through ecology and, you know, the well and all that was completed, would you still eventually need to have that some sort of an intertie that would be, you know, you still need water from the city, it sounds like, after this was completed?
Yes, well, we have long had an intertie with the city of Spokane, I believe since the 80s. That agreement is still in place, and we would continue to want to have that agreement. We have requested additional water from the city of Spokane in the short term as we are negotiating this challenge of having a staged mitigation and therefore staged water right process. You know, we aren't going to be able to get all of our water rights immediately were we to do this well that we're envisioning. And so there's that request we've made to the city of Spokane. Our intent is to that would not be permanent, but we're working out the details of that with the city of Spokane.
I have a question. So so the payload channel that you pump out of currently, or actually don't pump out of currently because it's impacted by the PFAS, and that is the same paleo channel that will run down and go into the aquifer. Have you done a fate and transport of the PFAS that's in the paleo channel to see how that might impact potential well sites if you're near the confluence of the paleo channel with your new well? I'm just gonna move into a spot that's gonna put you in trouble again.
Yeah, and we're certainly going to test any well that we drill down there to make certain that the PFAS levels aren't above the criteria. But I mean, that is a concern, and should be a concern for everyone, that, you know, is the paleo channel transporting PFAS to the Spokane system? And we don't know the answer to that. I think the Air Force has been doing studies to determine what the extent of the PFAS contamination is, but.
And to that extent, what we have a figure that has been produced by Fairchild showing the extent of the contaminated area based on their testing and based on where the boundary is apparently between wells that test above the lifetime health advisory level and those that test below. But it's a great question. I mean, that's something that we're going to have to deal with. But as of right now, that boundary is up on the West Plains. It has not extended beyond.
This is a certainty that water in the paleo channel is indeed discharging into the SVRP, or is it discharging into surface water, which then goes into SVRP?
No, the paleo channel is all groundwater. It does not, it's about 180 feet deep at airway heights, and there's been a number of HG studies that have established that that's the direction this channel goes. So
It is intersecting subsurface then.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has any questions for Dennis or Kevin at this time?
If you have any further questions, if anyone does, feel free to, we can leave you our contact information, and feel free to reach out to us or go through the process of the SEPA. But I'm happy to address any questions that any of you have individually.
Okay. Yeah, I hope you understand our concerns and our questioning as we all have been involved in this groundwater body for quite some time, and it's extremely unique, and want to protect it as much as we can.
Totally understand that. If this ends up happening the way that we would like it to happen, well, first of all, there is no perfect solution for us, but you may have another member on your board.
That thought came to my mind last night when I was doing the dishes, because we have quite the database of potential contaminant sources. Well, if there's no other questions, I appreciate your time, Dennis and Kevin. Yeah, we will pass along your contact information for others if they have further questions after the meeting, because I have both your contacts.
Great, thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Okay. So I guess moving on in our new business scenario, or I was going to say scenario agenda here, in our discussions about our gravel pit work projects, we were offered some services from Mr. Norm Semenko, and he provided us with a contract kind of laying those boundaries out. And I think, has anyone had a chance to look through that? I did.
Maybe Norm could explain why it's important for us to have this letter.
That'd probably be better.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad to do that. And Tony Lee, I hope you guys hear me all right.
Yep, thank you, Norm.
Yeah, and first of all, I apologize for not being there in person. I was programmed to be in North Idaho and Eastern Washington this week, but I had to boomerang back to Boise. So, yeah, pro bono or whether you charge a fee or not, it's real legal services, right? So the attorney-client relationship is important. The rules of professional conduct that are triggered with regard to attorney-client privilege, confidentiality, treatment of files, on and on and on, exists. So the way our firm engages, whether the work is for a fee or not, is with an engagement letter that on our end protects us with regard to malpractice insurance. Not that we're expecting that, but a formal engagement allows that. So the way I have structured this, and it's just a draft and a proposal, Tony Lee thought it'd be good for us to share this, is that the only item that you are asking me to help with is the aggregate quarry committee, the scope of work, and whatever legal review consultation with the consultant would be required as part of that project. And very plainly in the letter, you see that there will be absolutely no fee charged for that project. So that's the pro bono aspect, is that project. If in the future you have need for legal services and want me to help with that, we've already cleared conflicts. We've set up the matter. I'm kind of like the taxi cab standing by if you need a ride. Let's say, for example, you get sued by some disgruntled people, the board gets sued by some disgruntled people in Idaho who want you to stop using the term Spokane aquifer and call it the Rathdrum Prairie aquifer as they think it should be. If you need someone to look at and respond to a complaint, file an answer, I'm available as authorized by the board, and that's the key. Has to be authorized in advance by the board. And obviously you're free to choose to do something else if you want to go to downtown Spokane or Seattle or wherever and ask somebody if they can help you, you're free to do that. But this provides a formality of representation for the board. And frankly, just as an example, what triggered me to call Tony Lee the other day was copying me on the letter as attorney, just to have that kind of relationship, which I would value and appreciate having the opportunity to do. This should be formalized. So if you like it, great. If you have questions about it, ask them. If you'd like to see revisions, let me know. And if you hate it completely, blame Shane, because he's the one that got me involved. And it really is the Rathdrum Prairie aquifer.
Look in the Federal Register, it doesn't call.
I know. I've had this discussion before with my friends on both sides of the line.
Yeah, I know that there's strong feelings on that side of the border, including the editor, publisher of Coeur d'Alene Press. Very strong.
Now we can't help everybody, especially the Coeur d'Alene Press. So I'll be quiet now.
Yeah.
Can I clarify one thing? I think I just heard you say that I wasn't sure I was clear about. Is it only the gravel, the quarry, where you're doing the pro bono work, that anything else would be then for a fee?
Yeah, it's a good question. So anything that would be authorized by the board in advance would be something I'd charge a fee. Anything else that I choose to do, like sit in on your meetings like this one, or other meetings, the subcommittee meeting I sat in on the other day, that's on me if I want to participate. It's only those things that are specifically authorized by the board for me to engage in that I would charge a fee in, which at this point is nothing. And it could remain nothing. As Tony Lee and I discussed the other day, the only time that might become a reality is if you were in something that was time and labor intensive, like a lawsuit, which I don't anticipate that's going to happen. So the one item that's specifically called out as not charging any kind of fee under any circumstance is the project that's listed there. If the board chooses to hire me to do something, the structure's in place. The conflicts have been run. The engagement is locked in. I don't have to go back to my mothership in Salt Lake City and run a new conflict. I may have to amend the conflict to add an adverse party that we've identified, but that's easy. So the key for you is, and what I've built in there, and if it's not clear enough, we can make it more clear, but I think it is that there's only work that's authorized in advance by the board is work that I would be doing. Otherwise, it's client development or whatever you want to call it, pro bono on me, which I'll do a lot of because I like to sit in and listen. And that way, when Shane talks about this stuff or Trentwood, I'll know what they're talking about. Because I do represent those two entities, obviously.
There's one issue on the letter, and that it really ought to be addressed to our president, Jeremy Jenkins. But I have no authority to sign anything.
You bet. So the letter was sent to you because that's who I was talking to. But if you look at the end of the actual letter, you'll see it's to be signed by and it can be filled in. So obviously the president can sign it. It doesn't have to be signed by the person that the letter was sent to. And you certainly don't need to do anything on this today. I'm not going to go away between now and your December meeting or whenever you meet again. And if you've got questions, need time to review this, I just want to get something to you to review, to have this discussion. Because again, maybe other attorneys do it differently, but I consider work, whether it's for $500 an hour, $200 an hour, or for free, it's the same obligations as an attorney to the client, and that to me is formalized in the engagement letter. So
okay. Well, yeah, thank you for that. And I think that I think that we should, if folks want to take a read through that, let me or Tony Lee know in between now and our next meeting. If anything causes questions or whatnot, let us know, and we can plan to maybe make or consider it at our next meeting.
Yep, glad to help however you guys need. Thanks for the time. And the only other alternative, I told Tony Lee this yesterday, is I can run this by the board of directors of the firm as a true pro bono. They're going to want to know the specific matter though. So we would have to do that for every single project. And frankly, it's a nightmare getting a pro bono project approved. So that's why I structured the letter the way I did, to just say, look, here's what I'm doing, and I'm not charging a fee for it. And if you want to authorize me to do something else, then we'll deal with the fee at that time. But that, again, I wouldn't anticipate would be something really formal like litigation. In the meantime, whatever I'm doing, it's on me. So hope that explains it, and I'm happy to answer any questions down the road. I know you've got other things to worry about here today. Thanks.
Thank you.
So it talked about insurance coverage in this proposal. But we do have insurance coverage moving forward. Are we gonna have to review that in light of this proposal?
I think that our insurance coverage covers our activities as well, not just the meetings, but the actions that we take as a group. It is the way that I read that insurance policy. But I know someone involved with our insurance company, so I could ask them about that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was going to be an issue or not.
Yeah.
Our current coverage.
I think it's pretty broad coverage.
And this would only come up if we enter litigation.
Yeah, it'd be over.
So it's not anything our insurance company needs to know unless we're hiring Norm, who pay your money.
Okay. Anything else on this item? Otherwise, we will move on to our next agenda item. And Austin Morrell with Spokane Valley Fire is here. He sent that out to everyone, that form. Yeah. So members, you've received in your email Washington State Ratings Bureau document, and Austin's gonna talk a little bit about their need for.
So thanks everybody on the board for letting me address this just item. Again, I'm sitting next to Shane. Sorry, I'm kind of
I'm turning.
I can scooch over.
There you go.
Here we go. So I'll just kind of reiterate what was already distributed to the group, that this coming February 2022, it's actually the Washington Surveying and Ratings Bureau. I made an assumption was correct. So that's the name of the organization. They'll be doing a reevaluation of the protection class rating for our entire fire jurisdiction, which includes the vast majority of the water purveyors in this. There are a few outliers, but the vast majority of them are within our jurisdiction and they're of course operation with them. So that's why I sent out the email that has the eval form that WSRB, that's the information that they're looking to gather and have collected from each water purveyor that has fire hydrants on their system. So again, I think that's everybody that we interact with routinely. The second item that was in that email was just that I'm not sure if it's our entire board of commissioners, which is 4 folks, or it's just one individual on our board of commissioners. They just kind of wanted to attend the different board meetings that each water purveyor has, and then basically just at that meeting inform them of the upcoming visit, what the WSRB process is, so that the governing and leadership bodies for each purveyor is aware that this evaluation will be taking place. Yeah, basically just get everybody aware that the evaluation will be taking place and that we all contribute to this rating. It really is a community rating. So I did offer in the email, this is personally my first time going through an eval process. There's probably folks here that have been through at least one, if not several of these rating periods, but the fire department's more than happy to kind of be the gathering point of those forms as you guys are able to get those filled out, also with those comprehensive plans. The form itself gives a website link that you can use, but we're again more than happy to just collect all that information, kind of act as the main point of contact to WSRB and just present them a package of all that information. So you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I did request try to have everything or as best you can by the end of December, so the end of the year. When it gets close to that date, I'll probably reach out and see how we're doing this progress wise. And I can try to, gather up USBs, or if I need to do an office visit to just get some paper plans. We have the needs of scanning those. I know there's a big variety in the size of the water districts that we have on this board, so sometimes it's easier to do digital or paper. So just wanted to offer a helpful hand with that process. That's pretty much all I had on the topic, but happy to answer any questions too.
I will resend your email too, because there's been such a flurry of emails in the last that will maybe bury deeply in because I apologize, I sent out probably 20. So I will make sure that yours gets resent. So it's on the top of the list.
If possible, maybe could I be another item in December, just as kind of extend some dates to see how we're doing.
people could bring their flash drives to your meetings.
Yeah, we have to gather them. I prefer the same faces to face, it's just staring at my computer.
Yeah.
Nice to come by.
Yeah, like a storage unit that is my comp plan currently is 1,400 pages.
Holy cow.
Or 1,200.
We have a filing cabinet with a bunch of stuff in it. Big file.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Austin about that? Those of us that are in Spokane Valley Fire District's service area.
Hey, Austin, just so we get it in the notes, did you say a due date on that?
The 30th of December.
December 30th, Todd,
Okay.
if possible.
Did you have any issues with the locks on hydrants?
As far as I know, we haven't had issues with either the public breaking into them or our crews having access to testing the hydrants that are locked.
How are they breaking the locks, or are they,
Yeah, they're basically prying them open and then
So we have a key lock, and we noticed some of our locks are the actual key locks separating from, I think, the guys breaking those locks.
Okay.
So if there's a way we can set something up and we can explain how to take them off without breaking those locks.
Yeah.
Be great.
Yeah, I think probably an easy way honestly is to train me, and then I literally make the station visits and then I can train them. That'd be the simple way of doing things. So, yeah.
You didn't follow the torque ratings on the,
Huh?
you didn't follow the torque ratings on the install sheet for those?
Yeah, we did. It's the, where the metal, two metals,
There's like
that's
a
a
well bid.
that weld is breaking.
Oh, that, yeah.
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 And if they put it back on, it will still prevent access like to the operating nut, but now there's only two little like tack levels that hold that lid on there, so it's kind of fragile when you're dealing with firefighters.
I have broken one off, and I did see that possibly happening. Yeah.
I think in an emergency situation, it's a
Oh,
non-issue.
no,
but
sure.
for
Yeah.
training purposes, it's probably better just to use a pair of snips, bolt cutters or something, just snip those little locks. It doesn't put any stress, doesn't put any stress on the mechanism. Cut them on.
It's fun to rip them off.
Well, yeah, it's more fun to beat them.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, thanks, Austin, for hanging out with us here today. I'm going to move us along. Next item is Spokane County has received, I don't know if it's all the ARP funding, the American Recovery Plan, or the first installment, I think is more likely. And they have a survey that is out. They're kind of gauging gaining the pulse of the community and the potential beneficiaries of some of those funds. And Matt from Whitworth had sent that survey link along, and there's a section in that survey that pertains to water infrastructure. Matt, do you want to say something about that survey there?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Mostly, I just wanted you guys to all be aware that there is some funding out there. It appears the county got about 101 million, and they're in the process of figuring out what to spend that money on. Of course, us in the water industry are passionate about water projects, and I think it increases each of our chances of receiving some funding if there's a lot of people that respond to that survey. The water stuff is embedded with wastewater and broadband. There's like 4 or 5 different areas, but mostly just thought it would be nice if everybody took a look and put that down as a priority, if it is a priority to them. So that's really it.
Yeah, thanks. There's a lot of categories when I clicked that little radio button under that water category. So certainly something I'm gonna take a look back at, having half of my service area in unincorporated Spokane County. And the last item in our new business is coming back around to our 2022 draft budget.
And I'll go ahead and share my screen so it's there for everybody to look at.
There.
There we go. So the budget that was sent out has the estimated of the financials to date of 11/18. In the green box, you'll see that I put in the GSI. If we did go ahead and go with their current proposal, their scope of work, that is the amount that would be coming out of all committees. I didn't, so it'd be 168,555 would be our total budget for 2022. We estimate that we'll be receiving about 141,000, and it looks like we're going to have a balance of about $40,000 that's unallocated at the end of this year that would supplement the amount that will come in next year, which would cover, easily cover that GSI proposal. And in addition, you know, we're going to apply for the source water protection grant, which might, you know, reimburse some of those funds. So that's what's new in the front cover sheet. You saw most of this last month. If you continue on down, you'll see where the risk assessment for the aggregate quarries is included in the, we have committees, and that's the one that is all, which I just showed you. So this is just breaking out what you saw in the front cover sheet. The Spokane River Forum projects are the same. The potential contaminant source inventory, that hasn't changed from what we talked about last time. What is different is we still don't know for sure how much the plaques will take for the Tywick award. I did get a proposal back from Blue Sky Marketing for the Tywick Defender of the Aquifer Award, and that would be showing the video, and I have it broken out a little bit further if you want to see that. It's a hefty price, but that would be like our first time trying to get people really engaged in and aware of this. That would be, you know, the next year we would not commit that much funding to it. And my thought about that was that it would reduce the amount that we would be spending on our other media campaigns rather than adding to additional costs. So you'll see down below, if I can get my cursor to work, that the media campaigns, which in the past have been $20,000, would just for this next year be a $10,000 media campaign, probably only focusing on our summer water use, water conservation, and backflow. And these are just proposals, but that's how I kind of balanced it out so that, and you can say that, no, that's too much to spend on the Tywick award. That's, you know, it's just all here as a possible way of handling our funds for next year. And just a reminder that those orange ones are costs we had in the previous year, but are not being brought forward because those were discrete costs, one-time only costs.
Have any questions, comments about this at this time? I would ask that everyone, if you don't have anything right now, I want everyone to take a close look at this over the next couple weeks, and let us know if you have any thoughts about this, because in December is when we want to pass our budget for 2022, which on that I want to make sure that everyone makes sure that they attend next month, because we need to vote on it.
I'm going to share my screen again just to break out that TIWIC award so people are a little bit more, some separate document I had to find. Hang on 1 second. So the campaign would include video, and it's that 30-second video that we're editing. There would be a social media advertising piece to it, targeted display ads, and website retargeting, getting them to come back to the website to make their nominations. And this is how it would look. We want to start that January 4th because the deadline the deadline is February 15th for all nominations to come in. So that the video is what costs a lot. And then after the Spokane River Forum Conference, where we would announce the winner, then there'd be a 4-week campaign without video that would be $2,500, really just promoting that organization or individual who was selected as the defender of the aquifer. So that kind of breaks it out a little bit more for your decision making. And I'll send this out so you can all look at it more. Actually, I think I did send it in advance. I just pulled out a few parts of it for you to look at.
Yeah, I like the third part there of making sure that we have effort left to message out the winner. And, yeah, I think that for something that we're just standing up right now, having just hammering people, letting them know that this is a thing. I think that might be good to kind of create buzz or get some traffic in. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. We're going to have to rely solely on word of mouth and me going into my address book and sending to unsolicited emails to a whole bunch of people. I'm fine with that, but I don't know.
Has anybody approached Ben Wick about advertising or promotions or something in the his paper?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But we will.
Okay.
We want to get the video together and kind of get our thinking together, but yeah, we'll be asking everybody who has any kind of ability to advertise. He's a perfect one to do it.
Yeah, I have monthly ads in the Liberty Lake splash that I can just take over as well. But yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I think I sent it out in an email, but there were quite a few emails, so you might have missed it, that Kelly did share it with Diane, Ty's wife, and that she very much liked the video. She appreciated everything that everyone's doing to honor his memory and keep the work going forward, so.
Yeah, okay, homework, look at that budget and bring us questions or, yeah.
And we can't pass it with proxies, so we need everybody, we need a quorum next month.
Yeah, proxies do not work for budget. Okay. Delete. Your agenda item.
Can I go back one?
Sure.
A couple steps?
You can go back a couple steps.
For the scope of work for the aggregate, what's the next step for this?
Can I make a motion?
We need to have that on the agenda.
I mean, I'm trying to think about things in the past, and I think, you know, that we set aside the funding and then we get a, like a contract with a,
I can get a contract prepared for signature, but with the approval of your budget, that's how you'd like to move forward.
after we get the budget approved, then we make a contract, Brandon's not working.
Resolution.
Resolution, thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are usually done in January after the budget's passed, then we would make a full resolution.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know, when you would like to see a contract sent out, if that would be January, if that'd be appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that we can. Yeah, I think in the past, the last time we did a project, it was 2016, I want to say ish. We just passed that with the budget.
We've done resolutions that
Right
weren't
there.
tied to the budget, and work all in January as well.
Yeah.
We've done them in mid-year, but, you know, so you could just vote today, since we have a quorum, I believe, and.
We didn't have it on the agenda.
Right. So the easiest process would be to go ahead and pass the budget, have the resolution in January with, and then the contract gets signed. That's our.
Yeah, I mean, we can each make sure of this before the next meeting, and if we need to accept it prior to the budget or after the budget, whatever, we can make sure that that gets in the agenda for next month. I just think that we need, I'm looking for our little rule document right now, but I think that we have to have resolutions on the agenda before we would pass them. So Matt, you can keep that in your pocket right now.
Fair enough.
Unless someone knows more than me right now and wants to overrule me. Okay. Sorry. No,
Really important
that's
question.
fine. No, yeah. We do these things like once a year. It's like shaking the cobwebs out, trying to remember our process. But I think that I'd rather us wait until next month just to make sure that we follow our process. Because I don't want to have to answer to auditors. Okay.
I'm gonna make this quick, because it's already been quite a quite a meeting, so. Let me just, close out of it properly, and now it's frozen. Zoom again. All right, so I just want to do a real quick update on our media campaigns that have gone on this year. Given that we do pass the budget as it is, we will be reducing those campaigns significantly for this next year because of the TIWIC award. But here are the results, and I know it's a lot of detail, so I'm going to send this out to you, but I'll give you the quick overview. In the teacher campaign, they provided 748,000 impressions. And so we got 2,605 who clicked on our link, and we had a 0.32% click-through rate. And industry average is 0.05 to 0.12. So we had a really good click-through rate. Unfortunately, in this campaign, what I saw on our end was that about 50% of those left that page immediately. They just bounced off. So they didn't really explore our teacher resources. So we're going to kind of need to rethink how to make sure we're getting the right audience in, because we're getting good results through Blue Sky. It's just the people that are coming there aren't necessarily the ones who are going to go in and actually use that teacher resource. So that's something we have to kind of think through. How do we change that? But we did do we did well in, we did February, March, May, and October. And you can see March was a really good month for getting results. And down below, you can see the amount of money that was spent over the teacher campaign. We also ran a water conservation campaign in June, July, and August with 381,000, almost 382,000 impressions, 2,125 link clicks, and a 0.56 CTR. So we had really good click-through rate. And what we saw on the website end was that people were really going in and looking at our resources in the water conservation area, in the videos like the one YJ did on, retrofitting your sprinklers. That was very popular. So this campaign was highly effective. And one of the things that I just want to underscore, let's see, in July, obviously, when we want them to be thinking about water conservation, we have the greatest number of people coming to our website. And we only spent $3,900 on that particular promotion. So we might want to even look at what else we want to do around water conservation next year. And then moving on to our backflow protection. We ran that April as the spring startup. July, we ran the backflow, and then September. So we had two things going on in July. 395,000 impressions, 1,254 links, and an average of 0.32 click-through rate, which again is above industry average. Here's what's pretty remarkable about this is they did not want to run our video because it was over 15 seconds. It was over 30 seconds. It was over a minute. It was a long video, and they said nobody's going to watch it. We had 40% of the people who looked at it watched the whole thing. So this is where, those quick advertising videos, there's something to that. But those particular videos, people were interested enough to watch the full thing, which is rare. They didn't watch the full 15 seconds sometimes. We did spend a lot more money on the video, though. It is really much more pricey to do video, so we'll have to think about how we want to do that for next year, but our backflow protection with our stars, Dan Kegley and by Jay Adams and Terry Pickle, you know, they got word out to our community about these important issues. So I think all in all, we can be really pleased with how Blue Sky Marketing has been dedicating our money. We just need to get a little bit more careful about how to get to teachers, because that, you know, that audience, we weren't as targeted, and we'll work on that. Just the last thing, and then we're going to get out of here. In the business assistance realm, you know that because of COVID, we really curtailed our visits for the last year and a half. But we have 96 certified businesses, and our goals for this next year, provided we can get back up there, is that we'll do 20% of them as renewals. We'll get at least 5 new certifications, and we're going to be focusing on restaurants, food waste recovery, fats, oils, and greases, and then stormwater, because a lot of those restaurants leave their bins open and all kinds of, you know, rainwater, snow water is getting through and getting into our stormwater. This is in addition to everything we already always do around hazardous waste contamination. These will, you know, that's hazardous waste is our baseline for all of our business assistants. You can't even be a 2-star without handling your hazardous waste properly. But these are other areas that we know as a region we really need to focus on, particularly on that stormwater. So with that, you know, we have a very long and very interesting meeting, and I appreciate everybody, and we'll see you all in December.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Thank you, everyone, for attending our second hybridized meeting. Anything for the good of the cause before we?
I noticed that the city and the city of the water went in together for parks, and there was something I just read in the Journal of Business. I thought that was pretty cool.
A couple of years ago, the city and the park, and the city parks department is a little bit of its own entity. They have their own board and a few different of their own rules. So the city and the parks department kind of have to enter into like an MOU almost to work together and share funds. So 5 years ago, I mean, Dan was intimately involved in that. We, the utilities and the parks department was like $1 million or $1.5 million. And we did several large projects that it worked out fairly well. We got quite a bit of large savings out of those. So they made that an ongoing effort of a $250,000 a year commitment over the next 10 years, specifically aimed at the parks water conservation efforts.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, the difference in irrigation in Indian Canyon, Esmeralda, the downriver, the things that they did at Manitou Park with the koi pond and some of the irrigation systems up there, and the water savings were tremendous.
True numbers, right off. Yeah, that's great.
Indian Canyon, it was about a 30 to 35% reduction in water.
Esmeralda is one of our environment certified businesses,
right,
and we're going to get the rest of those in too.
So, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I guess we will see everyone next month. Mark your calendars. We've got a budget to pass.
Just want to let you know the snow is sticking on the grass here on the South Hill.
I see microflakes here in.
I'm supposed to go fishing in the morning.
Fish don't care about snow. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I call this meeting adjourned. 3:26. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Our
everyone.
scale faster when those go.